Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to PMP Q&A session. So our today's topic is plan and manage quality of products. We are discussing processes domain, and in the previous sessions, we talked about schedule management, cost management, risk management, and now we are discussing quality management. These topics are really important from exam perspective. Processes domain covers around 50% of the exam, right? So let's start. Question number 1. All right. Richard, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, reading the question, I felt that option D was the best kind of explanation of what was happening. In the example, it said they made a trade-off to cut a few corners, but they know they're gonna have to maintain it past the they're gonna have inefficiencies in the code past completion that they're gonna have to address. So I read it where it says technical debt. Option A refers to financial liability. This isn't financial debt. It's not that kind of debt. Option B, it represents the effort required to fix it. The defects in the project's code, possibly. Option C signifies cost of additional resources needed. I don't think they didn't need additional resources. They cut corners. So, and then option D says that, they chose to make a trade-off between development speed and long-term maintainability of the project. So they put themselves in the debt long-term with the project because they have to, in order for them to meet the deadline, they had to, they took the risk of cutting corners to pay that in the future to try to correct it to get the full product out.
All right. Thank you. Marta, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I chose option B because the team is aware that the shortcuts will need to be addressed in the future, right? So they understand that this effort would need to be fixed in the project's code afterwards. And that's why I chose B. I thought it was very straightforward from that perspective.
All right. Thank you, Marta. Lela, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I crossed it out A and C. This was definitely not financial debt we're talking about. So they cut corners and they did not address certain flaws and code inefficiencies. So I was between D and B, and I thought B would kind of, it represents the effort required to fix the defects in the project code. And they did, the question did talk about the code inefficiencies. So that's why I went with the B. I mean, this question was very long, so I tried to pick up, what kind of gave me a hint that I could go. So I thought B would kind of be the right answer.
So for example, what you're saying is, let's suppose there is a defect in the product and it requires, let's suppose, 5 hours of work. So would we call that work as technical debt?
If it requires 5 hours, no, it would not be debt.
It would not be debt. Okay, then why you have chosen option B?
I mean, they wanted to just, they were cutting corners to make sure deliver the project on time, right? So
My
this
question-
wasn't,
Go ahead.
so, and then whatever they didn't do, that would be the debt, right? Whatever they didn't finish on time. That's what my
Absolutely.
understanding
But
is.
absolutely, whatever they don't do, whatever they delay, right?
Right,
That
right.
is technical debt. Not
That's the debt.
all the efforts are technical debt.
No, right.
You understand? So option B is not correct. So option B simply says it represents the effort required to fix defects in the project code. No, not just the effort. Effort which is intentionally not done. And why so? Richard has already explained it, but let's take one more comment. Rahul, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, because if we are talking about technical debt after delivering, so even to address that debt, it will cost something. It's not like after the project is completed, it's the same budget which is going on. So I just chose it from that perspective that, even so whatever, maybe 6 months, 1 year, whatever that time period is, it's not gonna be free, right? So that's gonna cost something. So
That's right. So correct, from the conceptual perspective, or you have conceptual clarity, like if something is not done, then ultimately it would cost more and your budget would go up. So from that perspective, whatever you're explaining is right, but the concept of technical debt is different. So technical debt has nothing to do with financial liabilities or financials. Technical debt means the work that you don't do, which you are supposed to do. So for example, if there is a defect, you're supposed to handle that defect. You're supposed to resolve that, but you don't do that intentionally because you have other important stuff to do. So that delayed work is accumulated over time that we call technical debt. So it's a technical debt. It's a work that you have to do. So debt means something that is a liability, something that you have to do, but from technical perspective, from work perspective, not from financial perspective. So any work that you don't do, which you ultimately would be doing later on at the time of delivering the product, that is called technical debt. So it has nothing to do with financial liabilities. Rahul, is it clear?
yeah, but you would need, but you would also need financial, if you don't have budget for it, how would you later on, address the technical debt? How would you
Yeah,
do that?
you're
If the
right.
sponsor says, I don't have, we
Mhm.
cannot, go ahead with it. So then what do we do in that situation?
That's absolutely right. So the question says, which of the following best defines technical debt? The question is, which of the following best defines technical debt? And option A is, it refers to the financial liabilities incurred during project execution. No, technical debt has nothing to do with financial liabilities incurred during project execution. Technical debt is part of work that you should have done, but you intentionally don't do. You delay this because you're doing other important areas. You understand, Rahul? So whatever you're saying is right, but option is entirely different. Technical debt is not all the financial liabilities. For example, if you have to pay someone $5,000, if somebody has provided you services, so those $5,000 are not technical debt. You understand? That could be your financial liability, but not technical debt. You understand? We're talking about what's the definition of technical debt. So technical debt is the work that you should do, but you don't do because you are focusing on other areas. But ultimately, you have to do it. You have to pay it. You have to work on it before delivering the product. That's why we call it debt, something that you owe, something that you have to do. Is it clear, Rahul? Okay. So let's come back to all the options. So option A, it's not correct. It does not define technical debt. Option B, it represents the effort required to fix defects, not just the efforts, right? If you complete that effort, if you do that effort, then that is not technical debt. Option C, it signifies the cost of additional resources needed. No, it has nothing to do with cost. Option D, it denotes the trade-off between immediate development speed and long-term maintainability of a project. So it's a trade-off that you make. Like on one side, you have to move resources from normal work to address that particular defect. On the other side, you have a choice to deliver the product as soon as possible. Now, what you would be doing, it's a trade-off. Whether you would be delivering the product or you would be handling the defects. So it's a trade-off. So depending upon the requirement, if there is no time pressure, maybe you would be responding to defects. If there is a time pressure, so you would be parking those defects for finding a solution later on, and you would be delivering the product. Correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right. I hope it is clear. If you have any comment, anything, you can write in chat window, or you can just unmute yourself and just comment and say it, whatever you have in your mind. All right. Next question. All right. Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
Yes, because I remember you telling us the definition of done in one of the sessions, which means that the task that needs to be complete within the user story for each particular user story is definition of DoD, and the acceptance criteria is the requirement for a product that has to be accepted by the customer. So this is what I remember the time of you telling us, and that's the option why I picked.
All right. Thank you. Francis, you have chosen option C.
So I've chosen option. Yeah, I more or less almost chose option A, but I was confused by the word minimum requirement. Is this supposed to be a minimum requirement? So that's where I kind of lost this definition of acceptance criteria. it's supposed to be condition, not as such as a minimum, to my understanding. So I went with C instead, because acceptance criteria are determined by the product owner, while the definition of done is collaborated by development team to set the criteria for the done, by definition of done.
All right. Does it mean that acceptance criteria can't be determined collaboratively, or team has nothing to do with that? This is what you're saying? Francis?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Right, but here is the correction. Acceptance criteria can be determined collaboratively, and team members, their input is vital while defining the acceptance criteria. So slicing the user story, describing the user story, writing the user story, defining the acceptance criteria, helping to come up with the right acceptance criteria, team's input is relevant. So we can seek team input. It's not always that it is defined by the product owner, right? Customer is involved, product owner is involved, team members are involved, right? And they work together to come up with the acceptance criteria. So option C is not correct. All right, I'll be taking one more comment. Okay, Priya, you have chosen option B.
Yeah. So acceptance criteria is the functionality, basically test your requirements, and definition of done basically is all of the other activities that might need to be done. For example, in addition to development, you might have to do some testing work done, fix defects. So all of that kind of go into the definition of being called done. So B is, I think, the right answer.
So absolutely, that is the correct answer. So let me just explain it once again. So acceptance criteria, it's actually all the tests that you need to perform or conditions that your product should fulfill when you are delivering the product. So for example, what should be the acceptance criteria for a website for a login function? So acceptance criteria is normally for each user story. It's at the user story level, right? So for example, what should be the criteria for login function? Like users should visit a particular link. They should add correct username. And when they do that, they should add a correct password. And if they do enter correct username, correct password, and they click on login, then it should log in. If username and password is incorrect, then it should not log in. Now, this is called acceptance criteria. So criteria to accept this particular feature is that if users enter correct username and password and they successfully log in, it means the feature has been accepted. This is called acceptance criteria. Definition of done is normally at the iteration level or at the release level, not at the user story level. So there is a confusion, misconception about this. But authentic writers, they write DODs for the entire release. So these are set of conditions which should be met, as Priya mentioned. So for example, you have done coding, right? After that, you need to do testing. After that, you need to do peer review, let's suppose, right? After that, you need to do some security checks. Now, all these actions, they are collectively called definition of done. Means we have done all the possible things which are required to consider this particular release as complete, right? So that is called definition of done, right? So conditions which should be met before you deliver the product, that is definition of done. And all the test scenarios that test the quality of the product, that is called acceptance criteria. I hope it is clear. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. So you can see I have given examples of acceptance criteria and definition of done. In acceptance criteria, you can see users should be able to add items to the shopping cart. If they are successfully able to do that, means product feature has met the acceptance criteria. Users should be able to view the total price. So acceptance criteria test the functionality of the product. Okay. Users should be able to proceed to checkout. This is one of the functionalities. The shopping cart should update in real time when items are added. This is another functionality. So when you're testing the functionality, if functionality is working or not, that is called acceptance criteria. And definition of done, it's the set of conditions that should be met. So for example, code has been reviewed, code has been approved, code has been tested, tests have passed, user interface elements. So these are the activities which you consider to be done at the time of release or at the time of iteration review. I hope it is clear. Correct answer is option B. Let's move to the next question. All right. Alan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah. Initiate a team discussion to evaluate and revise the quality assessment process. So at this point for me, this is attack immediately the condition of the struggles. So if we start this conversation, this review, we can find the condition of what we are uh, uh, making impediments of the quality of the product.
All right. Thank you. Lala, you have chosen option A.
Yes, so I eliminated D and C, and because they saying gather feedback from stakeholder, which they already had the feedback from stakeholder that they were not meeting the quality standards. Also, increased number of feedback would not make sense either. We are, like I said, we already had the feedbacks, right? So then I was between A and B. So the B was initiate a team discussion, which the team already discussed that they were not meeting the product quality standards. They noticed that the team is struggling to meet the product quality standards and the question. So that's why I eliminated the B for that reason, and I went with A. Use established industries to ensure the product quality.
All right. So you're saying team members, they have already discussed and evaluated. So we should directly jump to option A, that is using.
Yes,
industry.
because they're saying they noticed that the team is struggling. So I'm assuming they already the team already discussed about this. So that's why they should go
Okay.
for the action.
So the word notice is used and you assumed they have already done the analysis. All right.
Analysis, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So Robin, could you please explain, is there anything wrong with Leila's explanation?
I was in two minds. I also excluded C and D,
Mhm.
but I was more in favor of B because this is an experienced team member that brought this up. And from the question, it seems as if the rest of the team aren't that experienced. So what we need to do is to get the team together and have a discussion, and in order what we need to do to revise the quality assessment process. That's what swayed my decision on to be.
All right, thank you. So you're saying since one team member has expressed dissatisfaction, so to bring the entire team on board or on the same page, we should have a team discussion first.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, Daniela, you have chosen option B.
Yes. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I chose it immediately because this seemed like a logical step. It's basically they are struggling, they can't meet the standards. So they already have the standards. So how about evaluate the standards and see, well, maybe sounds stupid, but maybe they are too high or unachievable in this particular case. We know nothing about the project, but we assume that they have to revise the standards. That's why I chose B.
All right, thank you. So, correct. Problem here is that a team member has expressed dissatisfaction with the current approach to handling quality feedback. Like their approach, how to handle feedback, that is what has made them dissatisfied. So as a result of that, what's happening, team is struggling to meet product quality standards. So what you should do. So as we have discussed many times, the very first thing that you need to do, you need to evaluate the situation. You need to understand the situation. So the first thing is analysis. Whenever you have a problem, first thing is try to understand the problem. So Lala made a comment like, since the word noticed is used or expressed dissatisfaction, something like that. So she assumed that the detailed assessment has been done. Until it is not mentioned, in the question, or if you see such thing in the question, then of course you can make assumption. But if you don't see any such thing in the question statement, don't assume. So there is no such thing in the statement that says detailed analysis or assessment has been done. So if there is no detailed assessment or analysis, the first thing is you should do the assessment. And what's the best way of doing that? Bring the team together and open the issue for discussion, have detailed discussion, do the evaluation, and revise the quality assessment process. Whenever or wherever you need some kind of changes, do that. So we'll apply the same principle here. The very first thing is try to understand the problem. For understanding, have a team discussion, discuss with the team, and come up with the analysis R, and then solution. So correct answer is option B. And yes, what Robin mentioned, for analysis purposes, bringing team together is one of the best choices. I hope it is clear, right? So whenever you see any such question in the exam, always go for the analysis unless it is mentioned in the question. So in this question, it is not mentioned. So we will be evaluating the problem and then we will be moving towards next action. I hope it is clear, right? So let's read the explanation. All right, so open team discussion would allow them evaluate the current quality assessment and identify areas of improvement. I hope it is clear. Next question. All right, Robin, you have chosen option A.
Yes, what I considered there um, is that what has happened so far, the campaign has been developed using agile methodology. And the marketing director doesn't, at this stage, at the stage of making his decision, understand the agile approach. So the best way to go about that is to invite him to participate in the iteration planning meetings to understand the user needs drive campaign development.
All right, but Robin, in the question, it doesn't talk about users' needs or will not be met, or there is something wrong with users' requirements. So if we read the question again, it says, due to fast-paced, iterative nature of Agile might compromise the final quality of the campaign, right? Quality of the campaign. So the question is not about like we will not be incorporating users' needs, or there is something wrong within collecting requirements from the customers, or there is something wrong in, for example, understanding, or there's misunderstanding about customer needs or users' needs. So option A says invite the marketing director to participate in iteration planning meeting to understand how user needs drive campaign development. So we're not talking about users' needs here. We're talking about the quality of the product due to fast-paced, iterative nature of Agile. It might compromise the quality of the product. So how we can ensure quality? That's the problem. By inviting marketing director to the planning meeting would not solve the quality-related concern. Does it make sense, Robin? You understand?
Yes, I get that now.
All right, thank you. But good try. I like your explanation. Okay. Next, Mary, you have chosen option C.
Yes, well, I guess option C and B are quite similar for me. So it was, old option D is also very nice because it has at least word marketing director. So it means it's dealing with exactly question 4, like B and C are more general, like what is the process of agile methodology. So like in fast way between B and C, I chose C, although now B can also be because predefined criteria and quality checks. The only point why I chose option C is because of the feedback about the quality of the product. So I think that at the end word feedback was the one that governed to go with the option C.
All right, thank you. So you have chosen the word feedback and you think that's more important than anything else to ensure quality. So option C is correct. Okay, thank you. Rahul, you have chosen option C.
I think same reason. B and C kind of look very similar. It's just that B doesn't talk about, I mean, even in B, you are kind of doing, it's talking about sprint review and to ensure the predefined criteria is being met. And C is like regular sprint reviews and presenting the features, gathering the feedback. So it's like, in B is like, even B says like after each sprint. So C is regular sprint review. That's a little confusing. But yeah, I chose C because it talks about feedback. So because if you get the feedback, that's how you can make improvements in the upcoming sprints. But B doesn't talk about feedback.
All right, all right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So the problem with B is that also it's the concept is similar to sprint review, But sprint review is something else. Sprint review is not you perform quality checks. Sprint review is whatever you have accomplished or completed, you present it to customer and product owner and seek their feedback. That is sprint review. The difference between B and C is that B is about performing quality checks, could be an internal quality checks, or it's a one-sided approach. You're doing all the quality checks without considering the needs of the customer or without talking to the customer. You understand that? That's the problem with option B. And formal quality checks, we are already doing that, right? So it's part of the process. So there is no need to do additional quality checks. So that's why option B is not correct. If we want to make sure that product meets quality requirement, the best idea is to present whatever you have done to the customer after each iteration to see if the functionality of the product is acceptable to the customer. So correct option to make sure product meets the quality standard is conduct regular sprint review meetings where you present your work to the customer and seek feedback and make adjustments. So correct option is option C. B is one-sided approach and it doesn't take into consideration of customers' feedback or, because ultimately customers or product owner, they need to decide if the product meets the standards or quality or whatever the requirement. So correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right. Transparency and continuous improvement. So conduct regular sprint review sessions where the team showcases campaign elements and gathers the director's real-time feedback. And also when we follow Scrum, although there are so many ceremonies going on, so we don't add anything else other than that. So we conduct sprint planning meeting, we are having daily stand-up meetings, we conduct sprint demonstration or sprint review meetings, then we conduct sprint retrospective. So already so many meetings and ceremonies are going on. So there is no need to add some additional things, right? So you do additional things if existing things are not working. So we should focus on the process, and as part of the process, sprint review is the best choice to ensure quality of the product. Let's move to the next question. All right. Marta, could you please explain your answers?
So for prevention cost, I put item 4, the scenario 4, which is implementing rigorous quality control measures, including the use of advanced testing equipment and specialized personnel to meticulously assess product integrity before it reaches the market.
Okay.
Then for cost category B, I chose scenario 3, which is investing in extensive employee training programs aimed at enhancing skills and promoting a culture of quality excellence throughout the organization. For cost category C, I chose scenario 1, which is addressing the repercussions of manufacturing defect discovered during the final stages of production, necessitating immediate rework, halting production lines, and causing delays. And for D, external failure, I chose managing a product recall due to safety concerns identified by customers post-purchase, leading to extensive brand damage, legal disputes, and regulatory fines.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Felicity, is there anything wrong with Marta's explanation?
I can't say that I'm an expert on these definitions, but I think if I was following correctly, I think I have for A, B, and then C, D, I have opposites for each of them. So I have prevention cost as being 3, so investing in employee training programs aimed at enhancing skills. It seems like it's very preventative. You want to make sure people are knowing what they're doing in the correct order. I confess I was confused when I read number 4 because that also sounds like prevention cost to me, but I still had B to do. So I thought appraisal cost makes sense because you are appraising your equipment and your control measures. So I thought that made sense, and I wasn't sure what the exact definition was. For C, internal failure, I said number 2, managing a product recall. I'm assuming that means a product we made and we are now having to recall, which is why it's leading to extensive brand damage. And then for D, I picked number 1, addressing the repercussions of a manufacturing defect. So the manufacturing defect tells me that was an external failure and we're now having to deal with the issue.
All right. Thank you, Felicity. All right. Manmeet, is there anything wrong with Felicity's explanation?
I will not point out, but according to me, I have written appraisal is definitely 3 because when it comes to enhancing skills and promoting culture, that means within the organization, we are making positive changes. So that's why B is 3.
Okay, so you're saying B is 3. Appraisal cost is 3, means investing in extensive employee training. That is appraisal cost, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me make a correction here.
Okay.
1 is prevention, 2nd is appraisal. Prevention you do before you start working on the product, or making sure that all the things are in place so that whatever you will be producing would be of right quality. So prevention is investing in employees training, having right people, right equipment, right process. That is called prevention cost. So you try to prevent the defects before they occur. And how you prevent? By having right people, right equipment, and right process. So prevention cost is investing in extensive employee training programs aimed at enhancing skills and promoting a culture of quality excellence throughout the organization. So A is 3, right? So that is correct. So what Felicity mentioned here, that is correct. Okay, Manmeet, you want to talk about anything else?
I got the first wrong. I don't think so. I have confidence enough to go further.
Okay, right. So let me explain. So A, I have already explained it. It's investing in employees' training. That is prevention cost. Appraisal cost is when you appraise your product. And how you appraise your product? Through inspection and testing. So all the testing, destructive testing or any sort of testing or inspection of the product, that is called appraisal cost. So appraisal is aimed at product, prevention is aimed at process. So if you look at it, option B, and with option 4, it says implementing rigorous quality control measures, including the use of advanced testing equipment and specialized personnel to meticulously assess product integrity before it reaches to the market. So you are assessing the product. When you assess the product, how you assess the product? Through testing. And that is called appraisal cost. So B is with 4. So this is also correct. Now option C, internal failure. So internal failure means something that you are doing within the organization. It has nothing to do with any external entity, right? So that is called internal failure. So internal failure, addressing the repercussions of a manufacturing defect discovered during the final stages of the production. So final stages of the production means you haven't released the product yet. It is within the organization. So that is internal failure. All the rework that you do as a result of defects, that is called internal failure. So rework as a result of any scrap or anything that you lose in terms of money, time, that is called internal failure. So this is not correct. C is 1. Okay. And external failure, when you deliver the product to the customer and customer starts using the product and then there's a defect and they return the product. So recall or warranty cost are called external failure cost. So option D, it's 2, managing a product recall. When you recall a product, when you send a product to the customer and it doesn't work, then you have to recall it due to safety concerns identified by customers post-purchase. So customers are involved, it's post-purchase. So correct answer is it's external failure. So this is correct, right? So 50% marks for Marta, 50% for Felicity. You can combine together, it would be 100%. Right, let's read the explanation. So yes. You can sit together during the exam, right? You will be getting 100%.
That would be great.
Yeah. So I hope it is clear. Prevention cost, the cost that you, the money that you invest in processes, people, and resources. Appraisal, the cost that you spend in testing the product or inspecting the product. Internal failure, cost of rework and scrap, and external failure, cost of warranty, recall, or when you have defects when the product is released to the customer. I hope it is clear. Next question. All right. Mohan, you have chosen option C.
I mean, I chose option C because usually, I mean, the concern here is that, one of the team members expressing concern that their project compliance with the quality policy outlined may not meet the quality management plan, right? And I chose C because conducting an audit is typically tool that you have in order to inspect the process. Where the concern seems to be that the process might not, process outline might not be being followed.
All right, thank you. Okay, Priya, you have chosen option A.
Yes, that seems to be a more the option that's more towards assessing the situation first before jumping into any conclusion. So I kind of took that approach and went with reviewing the process plan first to understand the situation and then decide the next course of action. So I choose A.
All right, thank you. Jayashri, you have chosen option B.
A summer. So one team member has expressed his or her concern on project compliance. So we should hold an internal discussion within the team to discuss on the non-compliance and potential remedies to really check and assess if the compliance is existing or really what we need to do in terms of taking action towards it.
All right, thank you. So one, comment before you go for audit, because audit is an extensive exercise. It's not a simple thing like you say, okay, let's conduct the audit. Audit is a very extensive exercise. So before conducting the audit, you need to discuss, okay, what are the non-compliance? Why a team member has raised a concern? If the concern is valid, then maybe you would be going with option A, option B, or option C, and audit could be one of the options. So remember, I'm repeating this again and again. Before jumping towards conclusion or actions, try to understand the situation, like what's going on, what's wrong here. The problem with option A is that it says review the quality management plan to understand the quality policy. The problem is not about quality policy here. The problem is about the implementation of the policy. It's not about if we have the right policy or wrong policy, or if we have complete policy or incomplete policy. The problem is implementation or compliance with that policy. So first you need to discuss what's the non-compliance, why the team member has raised that concern, and then you evaluate potential remedies like what we should do. We should conduct an audit, we should revise the policy, we should do more testing, right? We should do more frequent inspection or whatever. So first of all, analyze the situation. So correct option is arrange a team meeting to discuss non-compliance and potential remedies. And this is what we discussed in the previous session question as well. When a team member raised a concern, have a meeting, involve everybody, and discuss what's wrong with the situation. And then collectively or collaboratively decide, okay, what we should do next. All right. Anton, you have chosen option C.
Well, guys, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is quality assurance, which is sort of integrated quality system, whereas quality control, option B, is only, it's not that deep and integrated as C. And by elimination, root cause analysis is something that is done like post factum when you identify the issue. And I don't think it is integrated change control here as well.
All right. What is the difference between quality assurance and quality control? Anyone, please? Manmeet, go ahead.
As per my understanding, quality assurance is more of the performance base that the process is performing, and we need while the product is in the process of make. That is when we do the quality assurance that it do comes with the product proper requirements. A product should be made according to the what is required criteria, but quality control is comes with the defects or inspecting the quality itself. Like if there's any defect that needs to be fixed, that comes under the quality control. That's to my understanding.
So what is your answer, Manmeet?
So QA comes first, that's I know, because it involves the establishing process. But QC is where is when defects is there and we correct the defects.
All right. So what's your answer?
You asked me the difference. I gave you the answer.
No.
The difference is that comes first. Like QA comes first because it is when we are establishing. So we have a policies and procedures, and according to that, we assure that the process is performed and it's accurate. But when it comes to technical defects, that's where quality control comes. Because if there's a defect, it comes after or even while during the process, that fixes under the QC section.
I understand that, but what I'm asking is, what is your answer to this question number 7? What you have
B.
heard? B.
I picked B. Yeah.
You picked B, quality control. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay, Richard,
Right.
you have chosen option C.
Yeah. So after I read the question, I immediately ruled out A and D. I was between B and C. And what it says is, due to time pressure, the team couldn't thoroughly complete testing. So to me, according to Manmeet's explanation, quality assurance has to do with the process. We skipped a step in the process of delivering the software. So since we dropped our end, quality assurance was not delivered upon, yes, there's which caused the defect in the product. So that's kind of where I went with C, with quality assurance, because since we skipped the step, as long as we followed the process and made sure that we followed that process, we would have picked up on the defect on the way out the door.
All right, but Richard, the statement doesn't say you have skipped something. You haven't performed the process as explained. It says the team couldn't thoroughly complete testing. So there is something wrong with testing. Right? So
well, isn't that part of the process though? Is testing part of the process? If you skipped it, maybe I'm just misunderstanding it, but like I said,
you did testing, right? You performed testing. It means you followed the process, if testing is part of the process. But as it says, after the completion and delivery of a new software feature, the customer discovers a critical defect significantly impacting the product functionality. So you have developed the product, you have delivered it, and customer has discovered a defect. What could have prevented this? So correct answer is quality control, because inspection and testing is part of quality control. If you have performed complete testing, if you have inspected the product before delivery, this could have been avoided. You understand? So quality control is making sure that defects remain out of the hands of the customer. Quality assurance means making sure that defects don't become part of the product. So assurance is a proactive approach. Quality control is a reactive approach where you develop the product and then you test it. So the problem is with testing here, you couldn't complete the testing. Testing is part of quality control. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, so by implementing robust quality control measures, such as inspections, testing, and reviews, potential defects can be identified and addressed before the product is delivered to the customer. Thus reducing the likelihood of major defects being reported after delivery. All right, next question. All right. Felicity, would you like to explain your answers?
Not really. They're mostly guesses. Let me see, what did I put here? Fishbone for number 2, evaluating defect distribution. I remember what the fishbone diagram looks like, and the word distribution made me think that that's what we were referring to, so I went with that one. I have no idea what Deming's PDCA model is, but when I eliminated everything else, I put it as number 1, implementing systematic improvements. I mean, it said it was a model rather than a chart, so I figured implementing improvements sounds good to me. The scatter plot B, I said 5 or V, so investigating a sudden increase in software defects. I feel like that's not the one I meant to put down there, but I'm going to go with it. And then the histogram, I said D for 4 IV, analyzing the correlation between development time and defect frequency. That one also seems wrong to me now, but I think I went with that one because it mentioned development time, and I know histograms are usually time-based or time-focused charts. And similarly, the control chart number 3, monitoring critical production. Again, I felt it kind of made sense to talk about controlling and therefore monitoring critical production. I felt that one together.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, they weren't better.
No, good try. Priya, could you please explain your answers?
Yes. For the fishbone diagram, I had 5 because it kind of helps you analyze the source root cause of defects. For B, scatter plot, I chose 4, correlation between development time and defect frequency. For C, I chose 1 because that was the only one that I didn't know, and I just guessed it. For D, histogram, I chose 2. So it was a distribution, seemed right to me at that point. E is, I thought was number 3.
Okay. Right, thank you. All right. Richard, is there anything wrong with Priya's explanation?
Other than they don't match my answers, but I'm kind of in the same boat with a lot of people here. I can try to go through and explain mine. I agree with that A is 5 and C is 1. But the way that I understood the scatter plot, maybe I just read the scenarios wrong because I had 3 for B. Because when it says when you monitor the process and you detect anomalies, so I know that like you can detect trends on a scatter plot, and like so if you have like a group of 7, then that means there's something wrong. Or if you see a descending thing with quality standards, that means something's wrong to find that. So that's why I kind of landed on B with 3. And then for D, I chose 4 because I was with Felicity, you know, histogram usually depicts things over time. And then E, I landed on option 2, where you're evaluating defect distribution across product features, because that just seemed like it would fit into a chart.
Right, right. So let me just go through these techniques. Just give me a second if I can. So this was the quality assurance and quality control that we discussed. So this is the control chart where you have upper control limit, you have lower control limit, and in upper control limit, and you actually want to see if the product are within your limits or outside of the limit. To test your process, what you do, you develop control chart. If you have any product or any sample that is out of these limit, means there is something wrong with the process that you need to investigate. So this is control chart. Then we have fishbone diagram. Fishbone diagram is also called root cause analysis, RCA. This is also called cause and effect diagram because we want to see the root causes of the problem. This is also called YY diagram. And another name is Ishikawa diagram. So you can see the problem here is we have poor quality, and then we have written what could be the major factors. So for example, poor quality could be because of people, could be because of equipment, could be because of material or processes. And then we ask why people, because they are not trained. Why people are not trained? Because we don't have training program. Why we don't have training program? We don't have relevant person in HR. Why people are overburdened? Because we have less resources. Why less resources? We do not hire, or some people leave the organization. So we keep on asking why to understand the root cause. So this is called fishbone diagram. So fishbone diagram is developed to identify root causes of the problem or to investigate a problem, as we are doing in this case, poor quality. Okay, then we have scatter plot. So scatter plot is, we develop scatter plot when we want to substantiate relationship between 2 variables. When we mathematically prove relationship between 2 variables. So we want to see if there is any relationship between poor quality and overburdened employees. So suppose this is X, quality is Y. So if we plot X and Y, we get a linear line. So on a scatter plot, if you get points closer to each other, it means there is a strong relationship. So in X and Y, there is a strong relationship in this case. But what we have done here, we plotted X with Y dash. X is 1 to 10. Y is randomly distributed. Sometime it is 45, 30, 40. So you can see green points are scattered all over. So if points are scattered on the scatter plot, means it indicates weak relationship. Red dots are closer to each other. It indicates strong relationship. What does it mean? It means between X and Y, there is a strong relationship. Between Y and Y dash, there is a weak relationship. So in order to substantiate relationship between two variables, we plot scatter plot. I hope it is clear. And then we have histogram. Histograms, actually, we plot frequency of defects. So we have 5 different types of defects: type A defect, type B, type C, type D, type A. So this is number of defects. So in one, for example, batch, number of defects for type A are, let's suppose, 60. This is 100. This is 30. This is 40. And this is 15. So we can see type B and type A defects are most important defects, or they are recurring defects. So when we want to prioritize defects, we plot histogram. And then there is another version of histogram, that is Pareto chart. Here you can see the same defects, but in a descending order, right? So this is called histogram. Histogram plots frequency of defects. And then 5 why analysis, you keep on asking why again and again until you reach the root cause. Okay, one thing is Edward Deming's PDCA model. So it's a model for continuous improvement. So we have plan, do, check, act. P for plan, D for do, C for check, A for act. So it's a 4-step process. Like if you want to improve something, if you want to introduce a change, first plan that change, then experiment, implement the change at small scale. That is called do step. Then study the results of your experiment, analyze results, study the outcome. If outcome is favorable, then act, implement the change at organization level. That is called Edward Deming's PDCA model. This is for continuous improvement. Now, if we go back here, so fishbone diagram. So what could be the right answer for fishbone diagram? So investigating a sudden increase in software development. So this is for investigation purposes. So I will go with A with option 5. So this scatter plot. So we can see scatter plot here, analyzing the correlationship between development time and defects frequency. So these are two variables, and we want to understand correlation or relationship between two variables. So B with option 4. Edward Deming's PDCA model, implementing systematic improvement to address recurring quality issues. So C with option 1. Histogram, evaluating defect distribution across product features to prioritize enhancement efforts. So what we do is we distribute defects into different categories based on their occurrence. So I'll go with option D2. And the last one, control charts, monitoring critical production processes to detect anomalies and maintain quality standard. So we see if product samples are within the limits or outside of the limits. So we monitor the critical production process to detect if something is out of the process. So E with 3. I hope it is clear, right? Let's read the explanation. So you can see fishbone diagram is with number 5. Investigating a sudden change, scatter plot, analyzing the correlation. Deming is implementing systematic improvement. Histogram is for distribution on prioritization of defects, and control charts monitoring the process. I hope it is clear. So these techniques are important. You can expect a similar question in the exam in which you have to use drag and drop to come up with the right answer. Next question, please. All right. Priya, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I think this would have been identified if there was a regular, a proper risk process set up, because this is a technical risk and it should have been identified at the time of discussion of risks. So I think that's C is my answer.
All right. Thank you. Mary, you have chosen option D.
So yes, because this is it can't be integrated with the existing customer system, so it's almost like initial stage when you put requirements, identification. So I guess you always do requirements. What is the existing customer system and the integration? So that's why I chose option D.
Right. Thank you. Mohan, you have chosen option D.
I mean, similar reason to what was just said. I mean, kind of eliminated all the other options because A talks about developing a comprehensive quality management plan. I mean, it could have a comprehensive quality management plan, but then that would not identify the defect of this integration issue. And then ensuring effective communication, I kind of eliminated that out. And risk assessment throughout the project lifecycle. I kind of eliminated that as well. So I don't know if that would have been captured to the risk assessment just from the and identified any of the software integration issues.
All right. Thank you. Manmeet, what's wrong with option C?
Regular risk assessments throughout the project life cycle. Because this is not risk, I believe. So that's why I think C is not the option. Active engagement of the customer, if we have done that and discuss about the requirements, then customer might be aware at the time that this is the requirement and he needs to update this system or make it more compatible after the software development. So that has come up with the better solution instead of having regular risk assessments.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So the problem here is that it is discovered upon completion that it cannot be integrated with the existing customer system. So integration of the product with existing customer system is one of the product requirement. Like whatever you are developing, this should be integrated with the existing system. It should be part of the requirement. Like if it is a standalone system or if it should be integrated with our existing system. So yes, conducting regular risk assessment could have been helpful, but it's a very generic statement. Whenever you find the answer, go for the specific situation or specific option that solves the problem. So simply conducting risk assessment would not help you understand underlying customer requirements, or would not help you understand like if they have any existing system or you need to integrate this product with the existing system. Maybe you do a risk assessment, and according to your risk assessment, your system is a standalone system and it works perfectly well. So simply going for risk assessment would not solve your problem. You need to talk to customer. You need to understand this as one of the requirements. And if you identify this requirement during the initial stages, then you would be able to plan the development accordingly so that your system would be integrated with the existing system. So correct answer is option D. It's specific, it solves the problem, right? And it addresses the situation that is described in the statement, right? Let's move to the explanation. All right. Next question. All right, Marta, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I chose option D, but no. Yeah. So once the product is delivered, I would conduct a peer review and I would review through quality audits to ensure process compliance, but I'm not an expert on that, right?
All right, thank you. But product has not been delivered yet. Okay, it says after developing the product and completing testing to ensure it is free from defects, the product team confirms that the product meets the quality standard outlined in the product plan. What should be the next step? Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Alan, you have chosen option C.
Yes, at this point, the statement mentioned that the project plan is complete, or the quality of the product is complete. So from our understanding, everything is done. So it's time to hand over the product to the customer and document the lesson learned.
All right. Thank you. Gopal, you have chosen option A.
Hi, Amar. I think after I chose that, I'm a bit confused between A and B. But as per project management principles, validation is an important aspect. So when you finish a product, I would assume scope is the most important part of the quality plan. You validate against scope to seek formal acceptance of a completed work. That means validate means talk to the customer or kind of hand over to the customer. But then B also is is like a prevention measure. Verify requirements to ensure accuracy as per customer demands before actually going and handing over. So I'm kind of not sure between A and B.
All right.
For me, it is either of A or B, I think.
All right. Thank you. Felicity, you have chosen option A.
Yes. I scratched out D for conducting the peer review and the quality audits because the team said they've already checked the quality standards. In terms of C, handing over the product to the customer, that would insinuate that the customer's already accepted it, which hasn't actually happened yet per the question. So that brings us down to A and B. And similar to the last comment, A and B sound very similar. I decided to go with A because validation is important, and the wording of formal acceptance I felt was important because I did think that the next step after the team has decided they meet the quality standards is that the formal acceptance of the work has to happen.
All right, correct. So once you develop the product, the next step is you do the quality control, you perform quality testing to make sure that product is free from defect. Once you do that, next step is validation of scope. What is validation of scope? You present the work to the customer. customer reviews the product, inspects the product, and then customer provides formal acceptance. Customer formally accepts the product, and then you go for handing over. Option B, verification of requirements. So verify requirements is not a specific process or terminology that is used in a project management body of knowledge, but this is used when you collect requirements. So for example, during the planning stage, you collect requirements, and after collecting the requirements, you show the requirements back to the customer to make sure that whatever you have gathered reflects the actual customer requirements and needs. So there is nothing missing, there is anything that is misunderstood. So to make sure that planned requirements are according to customer demands and customer needs, that is called verification of requirements. So verification of requirements happen before you develop the product or before you start your development process. Validation happens once you develop the product. Once development is done, when testing is done, you make sure that product is free from defect, then you present it to customer for review and formal acceptance. Let's read the explanation. All right, Alan, go ahead. What's your question?
Sorry for interrupting. So I can see that for as mentioned, for the scope, I need to verify the quality and all the product features. But in the statement, it already mentioned that the quality specification standards are completed. So that is what I should see. But I'm a little bit confused with the A in this case.
All right, so let me explain it again. You develop your product. Once development happens, then you do testing. This testing is called quality control. After you, and quality control and testing and verification, this is internal. Once you do internal testing and internal quality control, next step is validation. So validation is where you involve customer, right? Then you present your work to the customer, and after presenting work to customer, then you do handing over. So this is a process. So first is development. Second is testing. Third is validation. Fourth is handing over. So statement talks about this step, that is testing step. So testing has been done. So once you complete your internal testing, what you would be doing next? So next step is validation. Validation where you involve the customer, you present the work to the customer and seek formal acceptance. So if we read the statement again, it says after developing the product and completing testing to ensure it is free from defects, the product team confirms that the product meets the quality standard. So project team confirms, means it is internal. It has not been presented to the customer. So next step is present it to the customer and seek formal acceptance. Alan, is it clear?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope you have learned a lot. We will be having session tomorrow as well. And this week we will be having 5 sessions to make up for the previous week. So I hope we would be able to complete process domain in this week and next week. This is very important domain from exam perspective. It covers 50% of your exam content, right? We have already covered people domain. People domain covers 42% of the exam. Process is 50% and business 8%. So if you're not confident about people, team skills, communication, stakeholders, you can review session 11 to 20. Session 1 to 10 are for agile framework, and 31 to 50 would be processes domain. All right. Thank you so much. Take good care of yourself. I'll see you tomorrow with an interesting lesson. Bye.